Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So BT12 pre-release is this weekend, official release is next week at the time of recording this, and we've been just kind of churning through all the different deck profiles we can for all these new decks. Now we're taking a look at decks that are basically just getting a ton of new support at this point in BT12. First of which I want to cover is Imperialdramon. I'm a huge Imperialdramon fan. I got my first Nats invite with this last year for the previous Nat, so I'm really excited that this deck has new life in it and it's actually good again, because it got kind of power crept a little bit. Other decks like Metal X just kind of overshadowed it, and it kind of been put on the back burner for a while, but now it's finally going to have enough support that it can actually kind of compete with the big dogs yet again. So I'm very excited for that, and to show you my deck profile. If you saw the feature match earlier this week, this is similar to that build, but I have corrected some things and what I felt has better shown what the deck can do now by changing up some ratios on some things, and we'll explain why I'm going with the ratios I am, because it might be something you're not expecting. Don't forget, this month's featured memory marker is Digimon, so if you're a purple fan or just a Digimon fan in general, this is going to be a great one to pick up. This is handmade out of clay, hand painted as well by my wife, Digimiyu. You can find this on her Etsy page, as well as if you are a Patreon member, you can get one of these as your reward for the month. So definitely check that out. This is super cool. I've been begging her for like a year to make this guy. I think he's super awesome. Turned out great. Got a little flight stand there, so he's flying above some cracking lava. So really, really cool. You can also find all of our previous memory markers that we featured on the channel on her Etsy page, including the Digimon. So if you don't want to go through the Patreon, you can always just go straight to the source and go through her Etsy page. All right, so as always, I have the whole deck pulled up for you guys here, so you can kind of follow along, and so just hopefully things will make sense as we talk about them. Some things you might notice in here is we're not running the old Imperial or the old Fighter mode. There is reasons for that. Some people are taking in like a one-of, things like that. I am not a big fan of one-ofs, okay? I have the one-of Omnimon and the one-of Ice Wall. The Ice Wall is simply because you can only run one of that, or else I would definitely run more. Omnimon, he is very much a game finisher. You don't have to have it. If you've got it, you got it, cool. If you don't, you can do it plenty of other ways, and that's pretty much it. We're not running hybrids either in this build, because the new Davis suspends himself, so you're not going to be able to go hybrid for game as much, because half your tamers are going to be suspended most of the time. And everything else here, we're just kind of maxing out on. You'll notice our level 5s, we have maxed out on just 2 of them instead of getting really diverse, because now we have 4 different ones we can choose from. But I've narrowed it down to, I think these are the ones you should run. And if you saw my what was the regional that I got, the top 16, I got my Nats invite. I was no fluff, no frills. I don't want any spicy techs. I don't want anything like that. I want pure efficiency, okay? And so having as many combo pieces at maximum as you can feels really good to me. It feels like the way to go most of the time, and especially in this case, I feel like definitely going this route makes a lot of sense for me. Also, you notice our rookie count is a little low. That is because was having a little bit of a talk to about it, and decided that I think we should definitely probably cut down on these, because you're not running you're not going to be running your green level 4. Sorry, losing train of thought there. Your green level 4s, you're pretty much always hard playing, so you're only actually evoing six level 4s in total here. And so since you're hard playing these, you don't need to run more than 12 copies or 12 rookies in general, I don't think. And I think that's a pretty smart call there. Yeah, Digimon TCG. was the one that I was talking to about that, and he was the one giving me some ideas from his builds, and I think he's definitely right on that. If I'm only going to be evoing just these blues here, these 6 level 4s, then I don't need to go too crazy. So we went with some good search power. We got the new Vmon and then the Labramon. So let's go ahead and do this card by card. We got the Demi Vmon here, which is our when attacking trigger draw 1. One of the best babies that you can run. We're pretty much, like I said, if you're digivolving on top of a rookie that has a baby underneath it, it's going to be your blues, and your blues are going to be giving you your jamming, so you're going to have jamming, okay? And it's going to be the most consistent way to get you your draws, I think, rather than like Upamon. You could maybe, if you wanted to go with something else, like everything else is pretty much DP boosting stuff though, and if you have jamming, you don't need DP boosting, so draw, more consistency, definitely the way to go. As well as some of the combos you can do is you can actually swing, you can get a bunch of draws, and potentially use your Davis to then Evo. So if you draw like 3 cards, that the piece you need, maybe the Imperial that you're looking for, might be in those cards, and you can just further enhance your chances of doing well. Next, we got the new Vmon here, which is basically just a straight upgrade to the starter deck version we had. It's an on-play reveal 3. You can add 1 Imperial in a name or free in its trait, and 1 Tamer with Davis in the name. And we're running only Davises in this build, you might notice. We'll get to why we're not running some of the others. And then place the rest of them on your deck in order. So he's a searcher. He's just as good as the old Vmon plus more, because now you can also get the Davis off of it. And he has an inheritable, which the old one did not. End of your turn, you can DNA with DNA Digivolve this Digimon and one of your other Digimon in play into a Digimon card in your hand by paying its Digivolution cost. That's huge. The new way to play this is so spicy. You can literally just go into your DNA to pass turn, and you can just absolutely pop off still, mainly because of the Dino Beamon. Dino Beamon basically has Blitz built into his DNA Digivolution ability, so if you go into him and it passes turn, you can still just completely and totally pop off in the, like, even though it's already past turn. So this Vmon is really, really powerful in combination with the Dino Beamon. Now, I do still like the Labramon a lot. This is the when attacking. If you have jamming, gain 1. You're always gonna have jamming. If you're DNA digivolving in this deck, you're going to have jamming because all of your blue sources give jamming as inheritables. Some people are going with the unsuspend Vmon instead. Unsuspend, gain 1. My issue with that, you're only going to basically trigger that 1 time in a turn, whereas the Labramon you can trigger twice. So why do I say that? Because the X Vmon, the old one, when you attack, he has jamming. You gain 1 memory with the Labramon. You DNA into something, you attack again, you gain another memory off of Labramon, because when you DNA, it resets your inheritables. Whereas the unsuspend gain 1 will only ever happen after you've already DNA'd. You've already gone, you're either Imperialdramon unsuspending or you're going into your Imperial unsuspend effect. So you're only ever going to gain that once per turn, whereas the Labramon, that very first turn that you do your big combo, you can get it twice. So I like the Labramon a bit better there. The only thing is he's not a free type. That's okay. He's a rookie. If I'm picking up free types off my search abilities, I can 100% guarantee you I'm not looking to pick up a Labramon. I'm probably looking for a level 5 or a level 6. So that's okay, that he's not a free type. And then, of course, we have the old Vmon, which is just the reveal 3, add a free type. So just a straight downgrade of the new one. Oh, but he's got 2k more, or 1k more. He's at 2k DP. That's not going to matter. It's never going to matter. But he's still a very powerful searcher. He picks up everything else in the deck except for Omni and Labramon. So same with the Vmon here. He picks up everything but those two. So he's still a fantastic search card. Absolutely. That first turn going first, you go into your Vmon, or you go into your raising area and then go into your X Vmon on top of that. And if it's still your turn, you throw down a Vmon to search and dig for more pieces. That's pretty much what you do every time, unless you're throwing down a Davis. So let's get into our level 4s here. We got the new XVmon, has jamming as an inheritable, which is great. Same with the old one. This one doesn't have the jamming built into the main effect, though, which is a bit of a bummer, because now we can't get that free, cheeky extra hit in as much. But we're only running this guy as a 2-of just to balance out our ratios. But he is still great, because when you DNA Digivolve with him, you can gain a memory. So if you're passing turn, you're using your Vmon inheritable here to DNA, even though the turn is passed, you're going to gain a memory back with this, as well as the new Stingmon has the same ability. When you use it to DNA, you gain a memory, so you can gain 2 memory back there, potentially keeping it on your turn. Even though you can still combo off, it doesn't matter. But say you go into Imperialdramon instead, using those 2 could be really powerful. So I'm a big fan of the gaining the memory back. I think it's pretty cool. But I still just like the old XVmon having jamming as an inheritable, as well as in the main ability, so I can just swing with this guy, get a free check, as well as just kind of poke my opponent's security. I don't want to go like full combo and just burn through a ton of resources and a bunch of memory, and my first check going to be Kakaitis Breath, or some sort of removal option. You're like, wow, cool. Glad I went through all of that just to find out that it was going to end up being a removal option. So getting that little little litmus test of security, very nice with this guy. Of course, we got the new Stingmon, which is great. Same little ability we already talked about, but this one has, instead of a draw, we're getting piercing, which is fantastic, because the deck was definitely missing out on the piercing before. You could get it through other means, like other Stingmons and things, but none of them really fit into the strategy as much. This one's great because you're going to get that piercing, but this is a 4-play cost, and the old one was a 4-play cost that turned into a 3-play cost. But with this one, since you're going to gain memory back off the DNA from this, he's basically a 3-play cost as well. So you're going to just, all your greens are going to be 3-play costs now, so that's great. And fantastic. And yeah, he's going to be really great for getting that piercing off. Now, the old one is still incredible, just being able to reduce, especially if your opponent has a memory blocker. Maybe you can't gain that memory back. You can play this one instead for a 3-play cost by reducing it. But if they have the Psychmon, then you play the other one instead, right? So you can be a little bit more versatile in how you want to go about getting your greens on field, on which one you should pick in which situation. And then, of course, we have the not once per turn draw 1, which is still a great card. If you don't have, whatever pieces you're missing, you can go ahead and start digging for them. Now, getting to our level 5s, of course, we got the Imperialdramon. This card's just a beast. When you DNA, you get a bottom deck of 6k or less DP on your opponent's side of the field to their bottom of their deck. Great. When attacking, unsuspend this Digimon. Super powerful. You got jamming now. Well, you got jamming. Now you have piercing as well. So multiple attacks there with piercing. That's great. Really powerful stuff, because now you can also control your opponent's board, not only by bottom decking stuff, but now you can start just swinging over things, double attack, and I don't have to choose, well, do I want to run that over and clear that body off the field, or do I want to get a security check? Now I can just pierce over it, and then I can get both, best of both worlds now, so that's great. I love the new Dimon, though. This card is fantastic for the new strategy. Imperialdramon's still just a all-around solid card for the decks that it goes in. The Dimon here, though, in this new build is really spicy, because you can still DNA for 0 into this guy, and when you DNA, you suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, and you get a 3k buff, and it can attack your opponent's Digimon. So you attack that one that you just suspended, you get a 3k buff, you're at 11k. That's great. You might have piercing, or more than likely you'll have piercing underneath. You'll definitely have jamming, or maybe you'll have a draw. Most of the time you really want your piercing, though, for the Dimon specifically, because he's going to be swinging over something. His inheritable, though, freaking awesome. Your turn once per turn when your Digimon with Imperialdramon in its name or free in its traits deletes one of your opponent's Digimon by battle. Trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. So not only do you remove a body, you trash a security because of this inheritable, and you get piercing. So that's just great stuff. And then so your dragon mode here. So in case you're not familiar with the combo, let's look at the new Davis right quick. Start of your main phase. If you have a Digimon of free in its trait, or a tamer with kin Ichijoji in its name and play gain 1 memory, so you get some memory off of this guy. But the big part here is when one of your 2-color blue and green Digimon attacks, by suspending the same memory, you may Digivolve it into a Digimon with Imperialdramon in a name in your hand for its Digivolution cost. So going to Dinobemon, it passes turn to your opponent, right? Because you play out your green, your Stingmon, you DNA into Dinobemon. Dinobemon's attacking. Your opponent's at like 2 memory, right? But your attack's going through. You're going to suspend your Davis. Now you're going into Dragon mode. Awesome. When Digivolving, if a blue Digimon is in this Digimon's Digivolution card, unsuspend this Digimon. If it has a green, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So now you're a 15k Imperialdramon Dragon mode swing over whatever your opponent's got. Because remember, you got that 3k from the Dinobemon. And then end of attack, you may Digivolve this Digimon into a Digimon with Imperialdramon in its name in your hand for its Digivolution cost. When this Digimon would Digivolve by this effect, reduce the Digivolution cost by 2. Pretty much your go-to is going to be fighter mode here. He can normally Digivolve for 2 on top of Dragon mode, but if you use that effect, he gets to Digivolve into fighter mode for free. So it's a mode swap for free here. Now he's a 16k because of the Dinobemon. And then when Digivolving, suspend all your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards. Then return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon to its owner's hand. By returning one Dragon mode from this Digimon's Digivolution cards to its owner's hands, return all of your opponent's suspended Digimon to the bottom of their owner's deck instead. So count them up again, right? We got the Dinobemon suspend as well as the Dragon mode suspended something, and then assuming that you haven't just run them over and murdered them, you can now just throw them to the bottom of the owner's deck, right? So that's great removal there, and it's a potential big board wipe, because not only that, you're suspending all your opponents with no sources, so that can be a whole bunch of things. And depending on the matchup, if you're going against like Commandramon or something like that, you just bottom deck their entire field at once off of a 0 Evo cost fighter mode. Hey, that's pretty good. And then all turns, this Digimon gets 1000 DP for each color in its Digivolution card, so it'll have a 2k buff. So now it's at 18k. While this Digimon has 2 or more colors in its Digivolution cards, it gains Security Attack +1 and Blocker. So if even after all that memory gain back and things like that, if it's still on your opponent's side of the field, he is now unsuspended because of Dragon mode, and he's got Blocker, so that's great. And then also, if you have gained enough memory back, you can then swing again with the fighter mode for 2 more checks. Now, how many checks are we up to in total? If we got the XVmon with that cheeky jamming check, that's 1. If you go into Dinobemon with the piercing Stingmon, you're going to pierce over something, so you're going to get a second security check for that Dinobemon inheritable of that free trash, and then you're going to check a security of your piercing with your Dragon mode, and then you're going to go into fighter mode, who's going to unsuspend, and then you can attack again with him for security attack +1, so that's 2 checks, and then you swing for game with Omnimon, Blitz Omnimon for game. So potential OTK there. It does have the potential there if you so choose, or if it opens up to you, but not like a must-have. That's just saying that like this deck can do so much. It can control the board so well. It's got pretty good memory management. It's got good draw power, search power. It's a very versatile, flexible deck, which I really like. It's not just purely you either OTK or you lose. You can do other things as well. So it's really great. Something you might not think about with this end of attack ability here, it says Imperialdramon in the name in your hand for its division cost. You could, in theory, go into Paladin mode off of this Dragon mode effect. End of attack, go into Paladin mode. I'm not doing it. If you want to drop the Blitz Omnimon and go for the Paladin mode instead, go for it. All right. In case you have forgotten, because it's been ages since we've seen this card. Yeah, let's go to the cheap one here. So 7 Evo normally. When this Digimon would Digivolve into a card in your hand, you may return 1 white level 7 Digimon card from your trash to the bottom of your deck to reduce the Digivolution cost by 4, making it a 3, making it a 1. Probably not going to be the case for this. You're basically going to be a 5 Evo cost into this Paladin mode. When Digivolving or when attacking, you may return 2 one two-colored card from this Digimon's Digivolution cards to the bottom of its owner's deck to trash all the Digivolution cards of one of your opponent's Digimon, then return all your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards to the bottom of their owner's deck in any order. So similar to Fighter Mode, but Fighter Mode is free, with a little bit more of a drawback. The thing with Fighter Mode is it doesn't dodge protection, whereas Paladin Mode does dodge protection because you trash all the sources first, and then he bottom decks. Whereas this, you just suspend off of the Dino B in the Dragon Mode, and then you bottom deck. But if it's got any sort of protection, you don't get past it. So just kind of keep that in mind. But I think the Fighter Mode being a little bit more versatile and being a 0 Evo cost with that effect is definitely going to be the way to go. He's just, I think, a little bit better, more memory efficient, things like that. Of course, the Blitzomnimon for game, always a solid one. We've already talked about the new Davis. We also have the new, or the old Kin, sorry. I don't know why this changed the scale on me all of a sudden. The new Davis here is your memory fixer and your searcher. Getting a blue and a green feels really good with the duo colors because you can always pick up the whichever other one you didn't hit. We've got 2 Megadeths in here. I'm just a big fan. It's a 5 play cost removal that's pretty strong. It's really easy to trigger with that duo color in this deck because we've got so much duo color action going on. Suspend one and then return one suspended to the bottom of the owner's deck or to the owner's hand. And it triggers into security, which is great, so you can actually suspend something else. So say something big attacked into this, suspended itself to attack, and then hits into Megadeth. Well, let me suspend this other thing on the field, and then go ahead and bounce that first thing that checked the security. You know, whatever you want to do. I like the versatility of it. It basically has actually 2 effects in it, and they don't actually have to be all on the same target. Then we got the 3 Hammer Sparks. It helps you make those plays. What we're talking about so many times with this deck was if it passes turn, you know, potentially you can't get that second attack in with the fighter mode, right? You can't go for those 2 checks with the fighter mode because you've passed turn. Well, if you got a Hammer Spark, you know, you can help yourself along a little bit and make these plays a little bit more possible. So I'm a big fan of Hammer Spark. You don't have to run it though. You could, in theory, drop the Hammer Sparks for like blue memory boost to help the consistency, as well as pop that on a later turn and gain 2 memory instead of just the 1 off the Hammer Spark. But you know, Hammer Spark's also a nice little bomb in security sometimes, gaining that 2. And of course the 1 of Ice Wall, because this card is nutty. When they attack, they lose 2 memory, so it dodges all the memory blocker effects and things like that. So just a great card. Really great in like the All Force matchup. We didn't see it in the feature match, I don't believe, but one of the game recordings, that a well-timed Ice Wall to pass to my opponent when the level 5 is in raising area, right? They are literally to the point they're about to pop off and go into All Force and just murder your whole day. And you're like, well, let me Ice Wall that. And it's like, okay, well, you get maybe 2 attacks out of your All Force, and it's going to pass to me, and then I'm going to immediately Megadeth that guy and set you back like 3 turns. But yeah, so this is the deck. I think is a lot of fun. My ratios are, like I said, very, very simple and straightforward. No crazy text or anything like that. I'm not going for super spicy, super interesting, over the top, for flash for no reason. I'm just efficient. I just want to see the cards I want to see as quickly as possible. I want to get into my megas as quickly as possible. I want to just go. That's it. I just want to go. The only problem I've had so far is not seeing the Davis soon enough. Everything else has been fine, but if I don't see the Davis soon enough, then it can kind of be a bit of a pain depending on what my opponent is playing. Now, I've been playing stuff that had really big blockers on the field, so I couldn't get any. I was like, well, let me just go to town with my XVmons and my Imperialdramons and just crush them. Like, there's too many big body blockers these days between the Machine Dramon matchup and between like the All Force. Like, those decks are so heavily played right now that you can't get away with just relying on your level 4s and level 5s to get the job done. You can't just go into the old Imperialdramon, spit out a 2 level 4s and make another Imperialdramon and swing again. Like, you can't do that anymore. It's just not going to get the job done. That's why I didn't opt for the Dragon mode with the hidden potential, just because it's not enough damage. You're not putting out enough big body energy anymore with that old build. You need to be able to swing over big things. Even looking at the Garuru X, right? Black War Greymon X, you know, you have to be able to get more DP than these guys if you want to beat them, because there's too much stuff with blocker these days. Too many megas with blocker these days. So the old strategy is just not going to work. That's if anything, if you want to take anything away from this video, if you've made it this far, my big takeaway would be you can't rely on just the little guys anymore to win you the game. You need to be able to get into big bodies with big DP and get past these big blockers, okay? And this new build can do that, right? We already talked about the DP that you can get to. 15K or 18K with this guy, you know, massive, absolutely massive. So yeah, I like it. Good all-around solid deck. I'm happy to be able to play Imperialdramon again and actually be competitive with it again.